Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger from 2itnutrition.com bringing you know it, keto without the crazy. Today's topic is a viewer suggestion. I wouldn't say viewer request because it was more of a suggestion. She said, I wish you would do a video about blah, blah, blah. Maybe you should do a video about, and I said, ooh, that's a great idea. I will definitely do that topic. Thank you. So this kind of goes along with the video I did recently about food prep, or it was really protein prep for those of you that watched it. I'll put a link below. Now, this topic is, can you do keto without cooking? And I mean without cooking at all. Like I think that some of the tips, or I hope some of the tips I provided in that food/protein prep video will be helpful for you. But let's say you don't even want to do that. You don't even want to take 2 or 3 hours a week for the whole week to prepare food. What if you hate the kitchen? If you were ever sentenced to like a prison sentence, they would put you in the kitchen to punish you. You know, that's like your worst nightmare is cooking or buying food, chopping food, preparing food. Can you do keto without any of that? Yes, you can, but it might require a little bit of a mindset shift. Now, first, so with regard to that mindset shift, what do I mean by that? Well, for starters, you have to allow yourself to realize just how simple and uncomplicated ketogenic or very low carb eating really is. I have a mountain of gorgeous, full color, glossy keto cookbooks. I love to look through them. I love to look at the pictures. I love to get ideas. I very, very rarely make anything from the actual recipes. Once in a while I do, especially if I'm cooking for other people and I kind of want to do something special. My normal meals are very, very simple. So don't be fooled into thinking that you can't be successful on a low carb or ketogenic diet unless you're busting out all the stops and you're making these very complicated fancy recipes that call for 8 ingredients that you can only buy online. They don't even have them at your regular store. That is absolutely not the case. And with regard to that mindset shift, another thing you have to keep in mind is that if you really, really don't want to cook and you're going to do this all with other strategies that I'll give you that don't require you to spend a minute in the kitchen, unless just to get the food from your fridge or pantry. If you're not actually going to cook any of it, you might have to release the fear of eating regular conventional type food. And by that, I mean whatever's on sale at the store, whatever you find at the restaurant, whatever you get at the drive-through. So it may not always, and most likely won't be, organic, grass-fed and finished, pasture-raised, whatever, small batch, whatever you want to call it. So the food quality/purity fear in your mind, you have to let that ratchet itself down a little bit. And I did a video long time ago. I guess I'll link to that too, because it's an old one. Most of you probably haven't seen it, about food quality and how it matters so much less than you think it does. Because if you're going to approach your low carb or keto diet with little to no cooking or food prep on your own time, you are probably going to have to make some of those concessions. There's going to be a trade-off. Hey, can you be perfectly successful on keto eating exclusively prepared foods, restaurant foods? Yes, but you're probably going to have to sacrifice other requirements or other preferences that you might have, in like the organic and grass finish and all that. So let me just run through a couple of quick suggestions. But before I even do that, see, this is what happens when I have notes, but only a little bit. Dr. Eric Westman and I wrote the book together, End Your Carb Confusion. We could have called it End Your Low Carb Complication, End Your Keto Overcomplication, End Your Keto Rules. I mean, we could probably write another 4 books to address these issues, but remember that what makes a low carb diet or a ketogenic diet do the beneficial metabolic things inside you that it does is the very, very low carbohydrate intake. It has nothing to do with whether your food is organic or pasture raised or grass finished, or whether you cook it all from scratch in your own kitchen, whether you're buying all raw material ingredients and cooking every meal, or whether you're going to the drive-thru. That's the beauty of what we present in End Your Carb Confusion. And the phase 1 food list is based off of the approach that Dr. Westman has used in his clinic at Duke University for 20 years. So he kind of knows it works. He's kind of published research on it. You know, he's only had a few thousand patients be 100% successful eating whatever was handy, as long as whatever was handy was very, very low in carbohydrate, right? So, and that's, you know, keto without the crazy. I work with that company, Adapt Your Life. We have our Keto Made Simple Masterclass. Keto Made Simple, End Your Carb Confusion, keto without the crazy. The whole approach that we have is to make this simpler and easier for you. Because we know asking people to give up the majority of maybe their favorite foods is hard enough. That's a hard enough ask for some people. Now we're going to say, okay, that's only the first step. Now you have to cook every single thing you eat from scratch in your own home kitchen. You can never ever go through a fast food drive-thru. You can never dine out at a restaurant. You can never grab something from an airport food kiosk. Like, that is just going to be a deal breaker for a lot, if not most people. We have to make this doable for you in the real world. So with that in mind, how can you do this without cooking? And I think that a lot of the tips I'm going to give you here are going to be helpful even if you do love to cook, because even those of us who love to cook maybe are not going to be in the mood to cook every meal every single day. Sometimes we're going to be tired. We're just not going to feel like it. We might want to go out to somewhere nice and have someone serve us. So, and just what's super convenient if we don't want to cook? Obviously, there are any number of options available to you at restaurants or fast food drive-thrus. Just avoid the carbs. I have a guide to dining out on keto. I don't know if I have it as a PDF that you can download anywhere. I will put a link. I wrote a blog post about this topic, so I'll put a link to that post and you can read that for some tips. If I can see if I have the PDF somewhere and upload it somewhere for you to download, I'll put that link below. But just don't eat the carbs. Get meat and vegetables. Always ask to substitute a starchy side dish. Ask to swap in can I have a salad instead of the potato? Can I have a green vegetable instead of the pasta? Whatever it is. Fast food drive-thrus, don't get the bun. Get a salad, get grilled chicken. You can get burger patties a la carte. You don't even have to ask for the burger without the bun. It's cheaper if you order the burger patty, like naked burger patty, by itself. Unless you want all the other fixings. If you want the tomato and the lettuce and the cheese and you just don't want the bun, then it's easier to get that whole package and you just throw the bun away. You can do the same thing with grilled chicken sandwiches. Like, you can probably just buy the grilled chicken patties a la carte. Get 10 of them. Go through a fast food drive-thru. I'd like 10 or 20 burger patties plain in a container. They'll do that. They absolutely do that for you. And okay, but what can you buy at the store? Let's say you don't want to cook ever, but you are totally willing to at least go to the supermarket and buy the food as long as it's already prepared. I have a couple of things jotted down, and we'll see if anything else comes to me while I'm reading this off. And these are in no particular order, just some suggestions. And again, remember, you're going to have to leave aside some of your preferences with regard to food quality or purity if you have any of those. Like, you're going to just have to let those fears go and trust that this will work really well for you as long as you get your carbohydrate and fat right. So, rotisserie chicken, and a lot of what I'm going to say is specific to the US and probably Canada. I'm not sure if some of what I'm going to talk about is always available in other countries. Most of it is. We all kind of live in the industrialized world. Like, you will have something comparable in your country if you're watching this outside the US. So prepared roasted or grilled chicken. These are usually very affordable, and you can even get more than one. Get 2 or 3, keep them in the fridge. You can pick at them cold, just pick the meat right off. And yes, there may be some trace carbohydrate in the marinade they use or the seasonings. That's the trade-off you're going to have to make. If you don't want to cook a chicken from scratch, even all you have to do is stick it in the oven. If you don't even want to do that, you might be getting an extra 2 or 3 grams of carbs per serving of that chicken. I consider that a very, very small price to pay to get something that's mostly protein and fat with a little bit of trace carbs, to have it be ultra, ultra convenient. It's already cooked for you. You don't even have to think about it. So that's a perfect example of where you're going to have that trade-off of convenience for like your whatever your keto perfection might be. Yeah, there probably are some trace carbs in that chicken, whoop-de-doo. The amount of carbohydrate you're going to get from that prepared chicken is almost negligible compared to eating a sandwich, eating a bowl of spaghetti. So, where are you going to fall along the purity spectrum here? So rotisserie chicken's a great idea. Almost every store now sells pre-cooked bacon in a box. It's not even refrigerated. You don't have to refrigerate it till you open the box. So pre-cooked bacon. You can go, so many stores now have really, really nice salad bars or antipasto bars where they've got olives, cured meats, salami, prosciutto, ham, grilled chicken, turkey, cheese, nuts and seeds, blue cheese crumbles. I'm trying to think of what else is. I probably already said olives and the marinated mushrooms, the marinated mozzarella balls. Like, that's low carb keto paradise. This all depends on your budget, of course, too. But again, that's going to be a sacrifice. You're probably going to spend a lot more money to buy everything pre-cooked, pre-made, and ready to go than buying raw materials and ingredients and cooking it yourself. If you have the money for that, and that's a sacrifice, or a trade-off, not a sacrifice, it's a trade-off you're willing to make it. Because if you hate to cook and you're never going to do it, if being able to buy 100% pre-cooked, prepared food is going to be the difference between you sticking to this and not, then do it, by all means. So all that salad bar stuff and all the vegetables, so the antipasto bar, then the salad bar, they're going to have mixed lettuces, mixed greens, probably some raw spinach leaves, stuff like that, bell peppers sometimes. I said olives for the olive bar, but they would have that on a salad bar too. So many stores now sell in the refrigerated section pre-cooked grilled chicken in a bag, just grilled chicken strips. And again, yeah, it was probably marinated in like a dextrose solution, and it's got a bunch of salt and stuff in it, which that's a trade-off you'll have to make. It's almost all protein and fat with very, very little carbs. There will be trace carbs, but again, that's almost negligible compared to eating something high carb. So the grilled chicken, if you go to a supermarket that has a deli counter, obviously you're going to have the deli meats or the lunch meats, or cold cuts as we call them in the US, ham, turkey, roast beef, pastrami, chicken breast. Stick to the ones that you know are lower in carbs. So that's going to be the roast beef, the corned beef, the pastrami, the roasted turkey, or the grilled turkeys, the roasted chicken breasts. Even ham is okay on the spectrum. Certain hams will be higher in sugar than others, but stay away from the brown sugar ham or the honey maple glazed turkey. Steer clear of anything that is obviously higher in sugar based on the name alone. And then you can also buy the prepackaged cold cuts or lunch meats that they sell. Those are also almost always going to be cured with sugar or brown sugar or dextrose or something like that. So depending on what you buy, you can go a little higher or lower in carbs. That's a trade-off you're going to have to make. And I think it's okay. I think it's okay to make that, but I'll put a caveat in that. We'll come back in a second. If you are not allergic to seafood, You could live, if you wanted to, you could live mostly on canned tuna, salmon, mackerel, sardines, shrimp. They even sell canned chicken now. Canned protein. You don't even have to refrigerate it. You could take that to work, stick it in your briefcase, stick it in your bag, if you have a can opener in your desk drawer. I mean, you don't have to cook any of this. Zero sugar jerky. Some beef jerky, now they have turkey jerky, they have salmon jerky. Most of it is loaded with sugar. Not all of it. The options for zero sugar jerkies are expanding a lot. Unfortunately, they tend to be more expensive than the regular stuff. Don't ask me why. It's more expensive to have a product with fewer ingredients if it's just beef and seasonings versus beef and seasonings and MSG and corn syrup and brown sugar. Why is the one with fewer ingredients more expensive? Your guess is as good as mine. But anyway, the point is, depending on your budget, there's a lot of zero sugar jerky options out there now. I will recommend below in the links, it is an affiliate, I have People's Choice Beef Jerky, which has a variety of zero sugar jerkies that are delicious. I've been buying them from them for about 3 or 4 years now. I really love them. People's Choice Beef Jerky. And let me see what else I have on this list. They even have, get the dried, like a big pepperoni stick, or some of the higher end grocery stores that have a really nice cheese selection will have those shelf stable chorizos and salamis. Oh, they're so good. Once you open it and start like cutting it, if you don't finish it all in one sitting, you do have to refrigerate it. But until you open it, you can just keep it in the pantry, keep it in the closet. Perfect protein and fat. Those are usually almost zero carb. They might have a little bit of sugar or dextrose in the ingredient list. Again, it's going to be almost negligible. That stuff, and I said, the nice gourmet cheese counter. How about cheese? How about nuts and seeds? Now, I know if you follow Dr. Westman's list or the Keto Made Simple, there's no nuts and seeds on our phase 1, but or his famous page 4. Not everyone who watches my YouTube is following that list. So if you are eating nuts and seeds, those are fine. A lot of stores now too have, depending on your budget, at that deli counter, roasted Brussels sprouts. They sell pre-made egg salad, pre-made tuna salad, sometimes shrimp salad, sometimes roasted or grilled mixed vegetables. So you'll find onions, peppers, mushrooms, sometimes things like zucchini and yellow summer squash. There's so much available to you if you're willing to pay that extra premium because it was cooked for you. And let me think. I think I've read everything on the list, but I mean, just with what I've said, that's more than enough. That's a lot of variety. And frankly, if you have the budget, you don't ever even have to buy any of that prepared food. If you want to go to a restaurant for every single meal that you eat, you can do that. You just order appropriately. Customize your order to always be very low in carbs and, controlled in the fat if you're having a hard time with weight loss. So you do, if you hate to cook, if you don't know how to cook, if you only want to cook 1 day a week, you can absolutely do keto. And that's, I don't know if that's an exclusive benefit to keto. You could probably say the same thing about any way of eating. If you're on a high carb, crazy, weird diet, you could just live on cereal and granola bars and, baked potatoes that are done at the deli counter. Like, you could just buy high carb items. But I guess I can say it's one of the benefits of doing keto if you focus on the things that matter most. Keeping that carbohydrate intake really, really low, controlling the fat intake to your personal needs, whether you're trying to gain weight, maintain, lose weight, wherever you are on that spectrum, and making sure you're getting decent protein, which is the staple of your diet. If you're not concerned about the purity and the provenance and where it came from, and it pains me to say that a little bit. I've worked on farms. I'm not currently affiliated with any farm, but for many years, I was part of a farm or working at a farmer's market, and that matters to me. Supporting small scale, local, family type farms is a big deal. Not everyone can do that. That stuff is very pricey. So it's a benefit of doing keto with this simple, down-to-earth, realistic approach where, again, you're not concerned about the provenance or where it came from or who produced it, and when you just know that you have to keep your carbohydrate intake really low, right? That was another one of my recent videos, like the number one thing you need to be successful on keto. If you are not trying to make the math work, if you are not trying to have exactly that much fat and exactly that much protein and exactly this many grams of carbs and this much fiber and this much of that, and you're not trying to like make it plug into an app to make all your numbers line up pretty, if you're not trying that because you kind of don't really have to do that, then you don't have to worry if this particular grilled chicken breast that you bought at the store pre-made was 4.6 ounces or 4.8 ounces. It doesn't matter, right? That's irrelevant. You know, even the carbs, like I said, the trace carbs, and I think I said, let's stick a pin. If you are doing it this way, and after several weeks or a couple of months, you're not so happy with the results you're getting, whether that's weight loss, improving your blood sugar, improving anything else that keto is good for, if you feel like you're not getting where you want to go, that would be a time to stop and evaluate. Maybe there's a lot more hidden carbohydrate in this stuff than I realized. Maybe I can't have that rotisserie chicken every night, or maybe I can't have that rotisserie chicken, but I can buy the totally plain pre-made grilled chicken breasts that have no seasoning on them, right? No cure, no maltodextrin, whatever they add to these things now. Maybe you can't do the deli counter ham that maybe has 2 grams of carbs per serving, which is no big deal, but you're having 5 servings a day. Maybe you need to switch to the roast beef that has 0 carbs, or like, you see what I mean? This is a place to start for those of you that absolutely loathe cooking. Keep it simple, keep it practical, keep it down to earth, but be aware, don't kid yourself. If you get to a point and you're like, this keto thing isn't really working the way everybody promised it would, then you might need to reevaluate. And I still think you can do everything store-bought or everything from a restaurant, but you might just have to change what you typically buy or what you've been ordering. Right? Does that make sense? I think that's about all I have here. But yeah, keto, like those of you who are new to this, and this, I should have started with this. I need to start making better notes for my videos is what I need to do. If you feel intimidated by keto, if you feel like you can't do keto or you haven't even tried it because you've been assuming that everything is complicated and you can't just eat a steak and some grilled broccoli. You can't just eat a baked pork chop with some, curry zucchini, like curry squash. If you think you can't do that, you think you can only be successful with keto if your food is weighed and measured and everything is precise and you've got the food scale and you've recorded it in the spreadsheet, I'm here to tell you that you are welcome to forget all of that. Forget it, don't worry about it, and just give this a try with the suggestions that I offered before. All the store-bought stuff, the drive-through stuff, the restaurant stuff, just know what to order and customize as needed for yourself. I think that's a real shame that's out there right now. How many people don't even try keto because they've assumed that it has to be complicated, it has to be intimidating, it can only be grass-fed, they have to spend extra money for the MCT oil and the collagen powder and this and that. No, you absolutely don't. Actually, if you have our book, End Your Carb Confusion, we have a whole section, I think it might even be a whole chapter, about dining out. How to customize your order at Mexican restaurant, Middle Eastern, Afghani restaurant, Indian, diner, bistro, all types of things. So that's in there, and keep it simple. Keep it without the crazy. I wish more people knew how simple this meat and vegetables. And when I say meat, I use that as a catch-all for like animal flesh protein. So meat to me is red meat. It could be beef, bison, lamb, but that also means to me poultry, pork, seafood, all that. Eggs I don't consider meat, they're separate, but animal protein, some kind of fat, and a non-starchy vegetable if you want to do vegetables. It really is that simple, and you don't have to do the math. To get started in this, that's enough to get you started. Sometime down the line, if you feel like you need to play with numbers, you can play with numbers, but when you're just starting out, it's really just the food. And I will leave you with that. Check out all the links below. I mentioned a couple of different videos that I'll link to and the blog post. And again, if you have our book, End Your Carb Confusion, there's a whole section on dining out. And that includes suggestions for the fast food drive-thrus and like grab and go convenience store, like at a gas station, they sell now hard-boiled eggs, string cheese, little cheese blocks. They have nuts and seeds, pork rinds. You could survive on that stuff if you absolutely had to. Okay, see you next time.